Welcome and good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. In this session, we're going to give you an overview of the career and technical education programs offered in San Francisco Unified School District. CTE programs are part of the College and Career Readiness Department of San Francisco Unified. So I wanted to take a moment to introduce our presenters today. And thank you so much to our amazing interpreters for this session. And my name is Marisa, and I work in the Department of College and Career Readiness with Vince. And I am going to let Vince introduce himself.
Are you ready to say sorry?
Thanks, Marisa. Hi, everyone. My name is Vince Tuan. I'm a supervisor in the College and Career Readiness Office. So Marisa and I work on programs that prepare students for options after high school. We're also going to take this opportunity to, for Alana, if you want to introduce yourself as well to our audience.
Sure. I'm Alana Ramirez, and I'm the operations manager at the Educational Placement Center. So although this session is not really about enrollment, if you do have a burning enrollment question, you can put it in the chat and I'll answer you there. Thank you.
I do want to ask the presenters to slow down talking so that the interpreters are able to interpret. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. And thank you, Alana, for being here. We just have just wanted to remind anyone who may have come in late about interpretation in case they need this. Do you want me to hold on this slide for a second, or is everyone good on translation? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, it looks like we have a request to repeat the Chinese translation phone number to call. Can we repeat that?
Yeah, sure. 嗱，如果咧你哋係想係聽中文翻譯嘅話咧，你哋係可以打係1386313，然後咧就係輸入呢一個嘅密碼啦，就係106570861井字嘅。咁如果咧你哋係用呢個手機咧係聽我哋嘅翻譯啦，同埋係睇 Zoom 嘅話咧，你哋咧就係可以喺 Zoom 嗰個屏幕上邊咧嘅左上角係撳咗嗰個 speaker， 即係嗰個嘅揚聲器嗰度撳咗去靜音咧，咁你哋就可以係用個手機咧係聽翻譯，同時咧亦都係睇到呢個 Zoom 嘅會議噶啦OK。多謝。Thank you.
Thank you. And la interpretación, las instrucciones para eso están en el chat si necesitan eso. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go over our agenda. We just did our welcome, and I just want to again thank our interpreters so much. And next we're going to go over our mission. Then we will have a program overview of the CTE programs.
There's a lot of people looking at this one. Just like the other career paths and things.
Is it possible to have folks on mute? Susan, is it possible to mute folks that maybe are not aware that they're unmuted? And then later we'll go over CTE in the news. We'll see a short clip of that program highlighted in the news. And then we'll have time for questions and answers. We'll also give some resources towards the end. Please, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and ideally to everyone, so that in case if it's direct messaged, we might miss it. So just put it to everyone so everyone can have a chance to see what questions were asked. So at any point you don't have to wait till the end to ask questions in the chat. Go ahead and put them in the chat at any point. Our mission as San Francisco Unified: every day we provide each and every student the quality instruction and equitable support required to thrive in the 21st century. And we feel that CTE particularly fulfills this.
All right. So the program overview for CTE. CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. And if this is a new term for you, I think the name itself really helps, right? It is coursework and a program that helps students prepare for a career, and they're also able to learn technical skills along the way. So CTE is definitely a program that supports and enhances a lot of the current courses and programs in high schools. All CTE courses fulfill A through G curriculum, and they really support the additional learning. CTE also has a lot of integrated learning. It starts with a lot of asking of questions, and then from there, students can kind of find real world applications for their learning. I think that makes a lot of student learning more connected to the real world, and for high school students, it makes it more interesting. CTE courses also encourage students to really think about their future options in terms of college or career paths. And it brings, I think, in a lot of ways, students' future closer to reality in high school.
Em thì can get my jacket.
CTE courses also, there's 2 more bullet points. Thanks, Marisa. CTE courses also help
Thank you.
students think about soft skills in terms of time management or collaboration as well. And lastly, CTE is all about hands-on. It's a project-based learning approach, and we think that really enhances student learning. All right, this slide shows all of the high schools in SFUSD with CTE programs. There really is no wrong choice in terms of high school in SFUSD. And if you look at the little icons, you might see your top choice high school with the CTE program. But this is to let you know that there's many high schools in SFUSD with CTE programs. And the programs often mesh really well in terms of the unique context of a school site and the instructional model. And the photo at the bottom here shows one of the unique opportunities that Mission Fire Science Pathway students were able to visit SFO in terms of their fire station there and learn about the unique ways that the fire department in SFO is special and unique from other fire departments in the city. Next slide. Thank you, Marisa. CTE programs, there's 53 programs in SFUSD that are CTE. So there's many programs. Most high schools have anywhere from 4 to 6 programs, and they represent 12 industry sectors. For example, they represent arts, media, entertainment as a sector, engineering as a sector. It might represent public service or health sciences. So there's a vast array of sectors that cover most industries. And at these high schools, these 53 programs, they cover anywhere from a two-year program that might be just junior or senior year, or 3 or 4 years as well, depending on the high school context. And this picture here shows some health science pathway students on a job shadow at UCSF. So really, the learning happens in the classroom, in the building, and then many times it'll be outside of the classroom to make the learning more connected and meaningful. And like I said earlier, CTE courses really specialize in real-world project-based learning. And some of the examples here of project-based learning include, in the first example, a few years ago, students were studying air quality in one of their projects, in one of their units in the health science pathway. And ABC7 made a news story about them, about students learning about the science, the ways in which to measure air quality, coming up with different solutions, and also just coming up with ways to kind of get involved and be more proactive in terms of their community. And that was from the Burton Health Science Pathway. Another example of project-based learning might be from a business and finance pathway, where students are coming up with unique business plans, ways to really support their community and also support their families economically. So those are 2 examples of real-world project-based learning in action. Next slide, please.
And then, thank you, Vince. And then, so I'm going to kind of transition from that to, because as Vince said, a lot of these programs mesh together really well, and the skills that you gain from these overlap in a lot of different areas. So as Vince had mentioned, some students were working on a business plan. And in this particular photo, this student is actually presenting their business plan to some venture capitalists. So to some investors who are, sorry, I'm trying to remind myself to slow down. I'm a fast talker. Is presenting their own entrepreneurship kind of business plan to a group of investors. So CTE also teaches you some great career skills: collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, public speaking, obviously, organizing presentations, the time management that maybe goes into that, the project management, leadership skills, networking. So many different career skills get highlighted, and you get experience with presenting to actual folks in these industries.
Marissa, may I ask a question? Because I was asking a question in chat, because I don't know if you are answering in chat, or should I be interjecting to ask questions?
Was that
Oh,
the question about Lowell? I think Vince just answered that. Is that correct? Is that the question you're asking?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I missed the beginnings. I wasn't sure which way. Thank you.
So that's a good question though. As far as like how to ask the questions, please go ahead and feel free to put things in the chat. If you put it to everyone, that way the person who's most appropriate to answer it will answer it as soon as they get a chance to. And then we'll also have time at the end to have questions. But yes, go ahead and put them in the chat, and then hopefully Vince, who will answer probably the majority of the questions in the chat, will get to it as soon as he can. But yes, go ahead and let us know if there's a question that didn't get answered. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sure. And then, so this student is part of a program called GOAT 23. And that is just yet another program within the CTE programs that students have the opportunity to participate in, where it is specifically for entrepreneurs or folks aspiring to be entrepreneurs. Okay, so further along the line of career skills or technical skills, in this particular photo, these are students who are in the automotive pathway at Washington High School. They're learning things like welding, tire rotations, machine diagnostics, and are picking up tons of technical skills. So these are students who are training to actually become mechanics, which is can be very lucrative, a very lucrative career. And then we have an image of a student who is at a game design showcase. So we're very lucky to have partners with a hotel who allowed us to host this showcase, this game design showcase, in a very fancy place downtown. And so the students not only got to go to this hotel, but they also got to show off their inventions, their game designs. So this student is playing another student's game that they created, and clearly looks to be entertained, at least, and possibly amazed. So in game design, you'll learn software development, and being able, and just computer skills in general, and then very specifically kind of the strategies needed to create a game, which is far more complex than some people might think. And we have work-based learning, which is under also CTE and the College and Career Readiness Program. So work-based learning might include things like job shadowing. It might include things like panel speakers, and then it just might include actually short presentations and internships as well, paid internships at that. So this particular one is a culinary job shadow, where they went to the Palace Hotel, downtown San Francisco, and got to see what it was like to be a chef for a day at a major hotel. So they learn and this just gives them a taste of a variety of industries, so they can actually see if they want to fully intern at one of these and get paid to do it. Internships, by the way, are offered all throughout the year. So fall, spring, summer, they have opportunities to get paid. And then this is an opportunity, another work-based learning opportunity for students. And this is what's kind of great, is that because San Francisco Unified has so many departments that tap into a lot of different industries, we can actually just use our own departments internally as well as outside resources and outside industries. So this particular student is in the communications department in San Francisco Unified and is getting a sample of what it looks like to be in marketing, at least for a school district. So that's a pretty big deal. And so again, internships, and we have over 500 connections to different local businesses and organizations. So we have quite a few opportunities for students to be connected to local opportunities that could then lead to bigger opportunities as well. And this is all ideally to give students an inspiration for post-high school life. And again, another example is that we are able to partner with the fire department and host students for a day and what that might look like. And as Vince showed in the very, very beginning, there is a huge difference actually between the fire departments around the city versus the one at San Francisco International Airport, as they deal with a variety of totally different types of fires and different ways to put those out. So they get to kind of learn those minute details as well in order to hopefully pique their interest. So another part of CTE is that students have access to early college coursework. Early college coursework has so many advantages. One is the experience, obviously, of taking a college level class before getting to college, so that maybe it's not such a huge shock for some folks who maybe do not have college experience in their families. And so, and it's just good for anyone, whether your family has tons of college experience or not. It's great to get that experience before you jump into college, post high school. And some of the courses, there's so many courses offered, but some highlights are the EMT courses. And we do have, we're very proud to say that we have some graduates that have gone into working as EMTs and working in the medical field or and mechanics. So these classes give students not only the experience, but they also give you college credit and high school credit. So it's not like it's causing them to get behind. And it could also be a GPA kind of bump for them as well. And next, we're going to have Vince talk about when CTE was featured in the news.
Yeah, thanks, Marisa. So thank you so much for being with us today and learning about the programs. Marisa mentioned earlier a lot about the summer programming that happens through our office, through CTE and College and Career Readiness. So what you'll see, this short news clip, it's a bit under 2 minutes or so, but it showcases a program that is happening in the fall and spring semester at John O'Connell High School. But it also, in this news story, highlights the summer programming. So a lot of that project-based learning we mentioned earlier, it connects to an early college course, and it kind of shows students learning a lot of the soft skills as well as the real technical skills. So Marisa, if you're able to play this clip for us, it's a little over 2 minutes.
Skilled trade jobs like carpentry and plumbing have certainly been in demand for years. The Summer Career Exploration Program offered by San Francisco Unified is helping students unlock the potential growth of the trade industry. ABC 7 News reporter Leanne Melendez explains how.
25 students signed up for the 5-week construction course, earning a stipend of nearly $600. It's one of several summer internships offered by San Francisco Unified. The students also get college credit from City College San Francisco.
This is a prerequisite for more trades classes at City College, so they can go on to learn how to frame, how to do plumbing, how to do electrical, residential wiring, and they know how to use some tools.
Trade skills that are in demand. Miles Chamberlain, an incoming senior, says it helped him land an entry-level position in construction.
My uncle actually works, he has a construction company, so I was going to work with him for the rest of the summer and probably next summer too.
Let's lean it up against that.
The construction course is being taught at O'Connell High School, one of the few schools, public or private, in the city to still offer woodshop classes.
Not many females are in like construction, and it's like I play sports too, and like more guys play the sport that I play, so I like being like the different one.
Pity we don't get more because, you know, the high school girls are a little bit more mature and they're good team leaders. And they're obviously every bit as skilled physically as the boys. So.
Part of the work done by these students during the past 5 weeks is ending up here as parklets, beautifully designed and crafted to be used by people while eating or just hanging out. The students here are learning that in some cases, trading a college diploma for a skilled trade may lead to a more profitable and stable career. In San Francisco, Leanne Melendez, ABC 7 News.
Well, coming up next, spend.
All right, so I hope that news clip was able to kind of bring a lot of the pieces together we've been talking about in the presentation today. So this slide, we're going to launch into the Q&A portion now, and we wanted to start with some of the frequently asked questions that come up. So the first question says, and feel free to continue adding questions to the chat. Thank you to everyone who has done so already. The first question here says, do all schools have the same pathways or programs? And the answer here is every school has a unique offering. There are many overlaps. For example, arts, media, and entertainment pathways. Many schools offer that. And in the video, you saw that O'Connell High School offers the building and construction trades pathway. There's 2 high schools in the district that offer engineering. So looking at the CTE website that we put in the chat, as well as the program link, will break down which high schools have which offerings. The next frequently asked question is, what's the process to enroll in a pathways program? Once you are enrolled in an SFUSD high school, often the counseling team will reach out to you in terms of ways to enroll. Many high schools start their pathways programs in the junior and senior year. There are some high schools that start in the 9th grade, others in the 10th grade. But once you're enrolled in a high school, the counseling team, the enrollment team will reach out to you in terms of next steps. But it is always good to learn about pathways programs before enrolling in a high school as well. The next question that is frequently asked is, what if you're interested in a specific pathway program? What can you do next? For many students who are currently in the 8th grade and soon to be in high school, one of the best next steps is to reach out to the school, maybe the counseling team or the family support team, and then you can learn more about high school programs and offerings as well. The last question we have prepared is, how many students enter the career field they studied after high school? If we take that video, for example, the building and construction trades program, the question would be, how many of those students in that pathway or in that summer program eventually entered the field of construction? And the answer to that is the data varies. I think for the most part, what is great about our CTE programs is that if students choose to enter career right after high school, they have a lot of tangible skills that will support that. But for the most part, the soft skills, a lot of the coursework supports any next step after high school, whether it is entering a career field or going to university or city college as a next step. The preparation level is is really good for all of those options. I think with that piece, we have the prepared part of our presentation is over, and now we have some time for questions and answers. And I think for this part, you can put it in the chat. I see someone entered one, or you can unmute yourself as well if you kind of use one of the icons to raise hand or just jump in when the time is right. So the first question in the chat asks, are the lengths of the program two years, or is it all 4 years? And it says, what happens if they don't want to continue to complete a pathway? Do they go back to general ed classes? That is a great question. In our program flyer, it does break down the number of years for programs. For the most part, though, for the bulk of our high schools, they are 2-year programs, often junior and senior year. And what's great about these courses, for example, is like, for example, in the engineering pathway, in some of the engineering pathways, those courses can count for math or science as well in terms of A through G credit. So even if you choose not to continue, you are still getting course credit. So there's no need to switch courses or go to general ed. You're fulfilling requirements as you go through. And a lot of students do really prefer CTE courses to general ed. Those other pieces, the work-based learning, the hands-on pieces, the additional job shadows or field trips, they really bring a lot of the learning to life. And feedback from students is that those opportunities often are often what make high school more exciting as well. The question asks, what schools have engineering? I will put the program flyer and website in the chat one more time. But currently, the 2 high schools that have engineering are Burton High School as well as Wallenberg High School. So those are the 2 high schools that offer engineering. Let's see here. I can put those in the chat one more time, the website.
I believe there's also, is there a question from our ASL interpreter?
No, I'm waiting to change, that's all.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Let's see here. The next question asks, how do you contact the school if your child is in the 8th grade? Alana, I wonder if you want to go over the process currently. We can obviously chime in as well, but Alana, I will give you first dibs at this question if you want.
Oh, I put an answer in the mute. I'm in the, excuse me, in the chat. There's contact information is listed for each school in the school finder section of our website. And there's a link. The link is there also in the chat for the school finder tool.
Awesome. And Alana, there are currently no in-person visits to school sites, correct?
There will not be any in-person tours or visits to schools because of COVID rules, unfortunately.
Awesome. And also all these high schools also have their own virtual recordings and videos for families as well. That is also a good next way to learn about school sites in high schools.
Yeah, and the schools are also doing their own individual sessions during this enrollment fair. So you can check out the schedule of the school workshops.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alana. The next question here that I see says, what does a student's schedule look like compared to general ed? Are they longer? Are these courses considered electives? That is a great question. That's from Fred. Students who are in the CTE pathways, they follow the same schedule as other students at a school. For example, if we use Balboa High School as an example, they're embedded in your coursework and you are just in the CTE pathways, fulfilling courses as you go through your schedule. And Marisa, how many periods are at Balboa?
6. There's 6.
Okay, so you go through your 6-period day, just like all other students. And the question is, are these considered electives? Some CTE courses do count as elective, but like I said earlier, some of them, depending maybe in the health pathway or engineering pathway, they are also fulfilling math courses, A through G credit, possibly science credit, or art credit, depending on the pathway. Great question. There's a question in here that says, if you're interested in CTE pathways, do you have to apply for it? Once you're enrolled in a high school, the counseling team will reach out in terms of how that works, depending on the grade level. For example, for many of the programs that start in the 11th and 12th grade year as programs, in the 10th grade second semester, schools kind of systematically have ways for students to learn about their options and to have choice involved, because choice is a key piece of CTE to kind of opt into what themed courses you're picking. Let's see, the question here says, Lowell offers PBL. What types of PBL do they offer? PBL stands for project-based learning. So Lowell doesn't have any CTE pathways, and that's where this question comes from. So what type of PBL? PBL is just a different way. It's an instructional strategy, which makes the learning more hands-on, rather than it being purely driven by a textbook. Project-based learning could be kind of like the two examples that we saw today in the presentation. One was about air quality, right? And one was about offering up business models as a way to kind of advocate for your community. So those are different ways to learn about content, but the drive is from an essential question. And then students can kind of come up with solutions on their own as well as part of it. So the short answer is that it depends on the course. That's what would drive the project-based learning approach. The next question here says, do high school students attend job programs during the school year? That is a great question. That is a question about internships and work-based learning. Marisa, do you want to start answering this question?
Sure. So yes, students can. I'm not sure if you mean well, students. So I'll just answer in the best way I can, and then see if that answers your question. So students have opportunities to be in internships starting now in the fall, in the spring, and in the summer. And they can. There's a variety of jobs that they can intern at and get great experience. So some examples right now that we have are a community garden. So if students have an interest in gardening, and another one is the Lines Ballet, which does not only do ballet, but if there are students who would want to see what it would be like to have dance as a career, that's an opportunity. Or if they just have an interest in it, they can kind of see the work side of that, the business model of that as well. We have internships at UCSF, so students can get a sense of what it's like to work in a hospital. We have students at working in elderly homes, so they know what it's like to work in that field of taking care of elderly, and all of the kind of precautions, and they get really excited to wear the nursing uniform in that one to feel much more official. So we have a lot of different opportunities, cooking, park and rec. So there's a lot of variety for students to be able to participate and get paid in those. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean by the job program, or there are other ways that we can expose students to work-based learning. So that would be job shadowing, maybe just going there one time for one day, maybe receiving a presentation from a local entrepreneur or an organization, possibly having a career panel, so students can sit in on a variety of folks from different industries and listen to what their pathway was to go from high school into the job that they're in. So those are kind of the things that we offer in the work-based learning team.
Awesome. Thank you, Marisa. The next question here says, is CTE a general ed track or is it a separate track? For all high schools, CTE courses are built into the general ed courses. They fulfill different levels of A through G requirements. So it's not a separate track. But depending on the school's instructional model, you could be taking more CTE courses or less, depending on the school site. There's a question here from Catherine about grading. Do you get letter grades? And are you able to go to a four-year college afterwards? Are they transferable? That's a great question. Like we said earlier in the presentation, all CTE courses fulfill A through G credit. So students after completing high school are able to go straight into university, four-year university. You can go to City College, you can go to a two-year and transfer. You can also go straight into the workforce, right? What's great about SFUSD and all of these CTE programs is it is about preparing all students for the next steps, even when they're not sure what the next steps are currently. So that is what's great about CTE and these programs. Okay, an announcement there from Susan. Do students need to apply? Once you get to the high school, they will break down when the applying is right, depending on the grade level. For the most part, it happens in the spring semester of your 10th grade year. Are students able to participate in internships outside of a career pathway or only if they are in CTE? Many opportunities exist as part of CTE courses, but like Marisa said earlier, and in the video we saw, you can opt into so many summer programming, whether it is related to a pathway you might be in or not. There's lots of options in SFUSD. And that's part of the goal is maximum exposure so that students can make informed choices. Let's see here. There's a document. This is a question about foreign language and whether or not you have to have 2 years of foreign language to graduate high school. Yes, I think this document you're referencing is the SFUSD requirements, which are A through G, and that does include 2 years of a world language. That is a great question. And as it relates to CTE, right? CTE are courses and you are enrolled in them, every year, and they will still fulfill A through G, and you'll still have space in your schedule for the 2-year language requirement. Yes. Yes, and then Alana, thank you, Alana. That's right there. Okay, it looks like we're done with the chat portion of questions. We do still have a little bit more time. All right, the question here says, how much time would CTE take in the school day to participate? Is it 1 or 2 periods of each day? That is a great question. For example, if we look at the O'Connell instructional model, CTE courses could take up to, you would be in a pathway and it could be a pretty good block of your day, but it might involve other courses. But I think for many students, it is about 2 periods a day, some are 3, but again, it depends on kind of which A through G course you're fulfilling. And then a CTE course considered elective courses. Some of them are, but some can fulfill A through G art, they can fulfill math courses, they can fulfill science. It just kind of depends on the industry sector and the way the courses are written.
And I can share a little bit about what I observed at Balboa, their instructional model. So the CTE, as far as how much time does CTE take in the school day, once they get to their junior and senior year, mostly they have 2 periods of a very like a very specific CTE course, like game design, or I'm trying to think of I only know the acronyms right now, but there's
maybe like the arts pathway, maybe the arts pathway.
There's environmental justice pathway. There's social justice pathways. And yeah, the arts, it also involves media and production. So those are 2 very specific classes that they take with their pathway teacher. However, the pathway is a team. So they might have a social studies teacher on their team, and that social studies teacher might gear a lot of the topics a little bit more towards their pathway. So if they're doing the social studies class will of course address all of the requirements, but also maybe include some history of game design perhaps. And if they're in the game design pathway. So that's kind of how they might get a little taste of their pathway industry as well in some of their other courses, because it's usually a team that works in the pathways. And then Vince, there's some questions about, I think that was addressed before, is CTE, are CTE courses considered elective courses? And so they are it varies a lot, but in general, like if you participate in CTE, you are on a track to graduate. You are not taking anything that will impede your ability to have all of the units that you need by graduation.
Yes, thank you for that, Marisa. That answers, I hope that answers your question, Karen, that if you're enrolled in CTE pathways, you can correctly assume that the courses will fulfill A through G. Yes. Often students who go through CTE pathways have more credits than are needed for graduation. So that is not a worry there.
And sometimes they have actually college credits that they can apply towards their college career. So some students can start with 3 units already of college level units, or 15 even. I think I've heard of a case of a student starting basically as a sophomore status once they got to college because of the amount of early college classes that they took that counted towards their college. Vince, there is a question that I'm not sure if we got to address it from Selena Tan. If there is a 4-year pathway, do we need to indicate the interest in that when we submit the high school application? Right. Alana from EPC, I believe, answered it. There's no need to indicate anything. I think it's a consideration, right, in the way that we would consider all school sites and the instructional model and courses they offer, but there's no need to indicate that on the application. The question here says, do the college credits work for all or most colleges or just City College? It depends on the coursework, but what's great about these early college courses is that since the focus is, college preparation, career preparation, exposure to these courses, basically taking a City College university level course in high school lets students learn about what's expected, and it really helps with the transition later should they pursue additional coursework after graduation. And in terms of how they transfer, it would depend on the school, right? School by school, it depends, but for the most part, these courses are meant to transfer as a way to have you start your higher education with some credits under your belt. And then we have a raised hand. Did you want to go ahead and unmute, or do we have to unmute them?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have question about CET. That means it requirement, or you don't, or you need to option. This option or requirement for high school?
That's a great question. Depending on the high school, right? For some of the high schools, it is elective credit and you can opt into it. So you can definitely go through 4 years of high school without ever taking a CTE course if you don't want to take a course. And then other high schools, for example, Balboa and O'Connell, they're built into the instructional model. So in 10th grade in the spring, often students are choosing which pathway to join. They're still fulfilling A through G, but they are able to have choice about which types of courses or industry sector they're exposed to. So depending on the school site.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. There's a question here that says, let's see. Pathway size, right? Is it limited to 30 to 60 students per pathway? 30 to 60 is often the range of numbers that we see by pathway. So some pathways at schools can definitely reach capacity. And then from there, students often have to select another CTE pathway. So for example, if the selection process happens 10th grade in the spring semester, then often students are making their first and second choice. And for the most part, I believe schools are able to honor that. Having the top two choices fulfilled, I think is a pretty good option and statistic to share. So yes, but there are capacity limits. There's a question here that what is the difference between AP, advanced placement classes, and CTE? AP often is preparation in terms of, it leads to the AP assessment piece, the AP test that happens at the end of that course. And it's often meant to be more accelerated. So if that works for students, that is a good choice if the schools offer that. And CTE is really about preparation for having the soft skills, having the hands-on learning, making the learning more interactive, I believe, and more opportunities, right? Embedded with the job shadow, work-based learning, guest speakers. So it's just in a different instructional model, but I don't necessarily think there needs to be a choice there.
Yeah, many students take AP courses while they're in a CTE pathway.
And then it looks like we have time for one more question, and then it's there in the chat. Can students take AP classes while in CTE? Absolutely. Students can take those courses. Some schools offer those AP courses outside of the regular bell schedule as well. So those options are always there depending on the site. I think we're at time. We want to definitely thank all of our translators. Hard work all the time. So thank you so much for supporting our families. Marisa, thank you so much for being my co-presenter. Alana at EBC, and we want to thank everyone who joined us on a cloudy, rainy Saturday afternoon. We know you have lots of choices, but we want to thank you all for joining us and learning about CTE within SFUSD. So with that, I think we're going to close out. I believe we have to exit the Zoom session at this time because of scheduling. So thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Vince.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. And the next one, which one is it? Why I don't see the application online?